Hello, everyone. My name is Shane A. Bassett, the movie analyst, and I'm here today with someone who you may or may not know, but we're going to find a lot more about him. Joel, can you please tell me your last name before I'm going to screw it up otherwise?
Yeah, it's Montgrand.
Ah, fantastic. Well, thank you, Joel. And what does the D stand for?
Danger. Danger is my middle name after
Oh,
all. No,
okay.
it's Darren. Yeah, I go by JD usually with my friends.
I'll just call you JD. How's that sound?
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Great to meet you. I appreciate your time. Of course, lately you've done plenty of work, and I want to discuss a few of your past career choices in shows and film. But everyone knows you probably now from Night Country, True Detective season 4. Has the phone actually stopped ringing since that show went to air?
Nobody calls these days. It's all emails.
Really?
A lot of emails are popping up. Yeah, I mean, I get the occasional family members more than anything. There are the people that call me unannounced.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's always lovely. Just a little hello, how's it going? But yeah, it's been a very surreal shift, I
Mm.
guess, since these shows have come out. I went from just walking down the street, normal thing, and now I've been recognized a bunch of times. It's odd. I've never had that. Yeah.
What have you, I'm assuming you have an agent. Are you not getting, calls like, who is this guy? I want him for my next project. Is that happening?
Well, well, right now things in Canada are kind of small, are slow, filming up in Vancouver, and I
Yeah.
do have an agent here in Canada, but they don't
Yeah.
have access to that U.S. market. So I'm in discussion with a couple managers, and
Okay.
things like that in the States for U.S. work because things are starting to pick up more down there.
Well, before we get to True Detective Night Country and your role as Eddie, have you been to Australia before? Have you been down under?
I've been to Perth actually.
Okay.
I was down in Perth when I was a young world traveling crazy guy, just out exploring the world. And yeah, I had a great old time. I got stung by a jellyfish. I had the real Australian experience.
Whoa.
That was nice. Yeah, it was apparent. It was one of the big ones. So apparently those ones aren't as bad. The little
Okay.
guys are the ones. Yeah. So it looked like Freddy Krueger attacked my back. I just had these big scratch marks down my back, and they kind of burned for
Oh,
about an hour.
yeah.
And then it went away. It was okay. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I was like, this is very uncomfortable. And then it was fine.
It's the little ones that are about that big that you got to worry
Yeah.
about and smaller. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I heard. They were like, that's all right. You're all right, mate. You just got bumped by a big guy. And it's like, oh, okay.
Did you get stung while you were surfing? I hope you can surf.
Oh no, I can't. I'm so I managed to catch a wave recently actually. We have one beach I think in Canada that's good to surf at,
Yeah, yeah.
Tofino. And I went out there and I finally managed to just catch a wave on all fours. Like I couldn't even get to my feet and do it proper, but I managed to get on all fours and ride a wave in and I was like that's good. That was a day of trying for me and that was all as far as I got.
Uh, Did you get the role for this by auditioning? Was it a self-tape? Did someone see you in maybe iZombie and go, I want that guy?
No, it was a self-tape. So
Yep.
initially I did that very first audition, and I didn't think too much of it, but then I got a call for a chemistry read.
Hmm.
And that took a little while because Issa and Kaylee were both in different areas of the planet, and I'm out here in Vancouver, and it was
Yeah.
all done, a chemistry read done over Zoom, right? So that was pretty wild for me. I'd never
That's
done
the
any of.
sign of the times, though, right?
It is. It really is. Yeah. And then the fact that we were all in different areas of the planet at that time. So, yeah, Issa was in Europe and Kaylee was on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. And we do this thing. And I honestly, I didn't think I got it because it was so cut and dry. Exactly 10 a.m. my time was the call. Exactly 10 a.m. All of them pop on the phone, boop, 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 and I'm like, hi. And then she's like, yeah, yeah, hi. This is Issa. This is Kaylee. Good. Listen, we're going to do this scene. I'm going to give you some notes and you'll do it
Yep.
again. And then it should take about 10 to 12 minutes. And that's exactly how it went down. There was no joking around. There
Oh,
was no fun. And I did this thing and then she's like, thank you, bye. And then like the call ends and I was like, well, I guess I didn't get that one. So I didn't lose any sleep. I just let it go.
yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
there's no way. And I found out later from speaking with Isa and her assistant, always be friends with the assistants is what I say to people. They're always the ones in the know. And her name's Blake, lovely human. And they were like, yeah, as soon as you finish your audition, Issa was like, that's the guy that I want. And there was some back and forth apparently with producers and things. They wanted someone else, and Issa fought for me and said, look, this guy's the guy that I want for this part.
Yeah.
He can go to the gym. Because there was a guy that maybe was a bit more in shape and that they wanted instead. And so I lost about 25 pounds over the course of 2 months training for this part.
Wow. Did you have your beard at the time, or did you have to grow that?
Oh no, I had my beard. I usually like my beard. Yeah, and so yeah, that was a non-issue, and they trimmed it down a lot actually for the part. It was bigger. It was like out to here.
So the chemistry from the Zoom audition, the self-tape, obviously transferred onto the screen. I thought Kali and you had pretty great chemistry. I mean, she must have been pretty amazing to work with. I like her anyway, but the kind of dynamic that you guys had together was good.
Yeah, she's got a really amazing story, huh? I mean, first Indigenous woman world champ multiple times. Yeah, and like literally fought to get to where she is. And she's it was pretty incredible because our scene, our intimate scene, was the one that was the most daunting for her. Like she is a great scene partner, but it was the one that was, you can punch her in the face and it's fine, but
Of course, yeah.
Gently touch her and then it's like, why, hey, this is scary. So thankfully we have intimacy coordinators in the game now. This is changing. It's becoming the norm. And Lucy Fennell was ours. Wonderful woman, and just really helped make everything a lot more comfortable. We all work within what we're going towards, and it still comes out seeming natural and spontaneous, when it's on film in a very real, beautiful way.
I like when the cameras stopped rolling and the scene was done. Did she punch you to just make it feel better?
There was like, we'd actually high five all the time. We'd do like a little boom, quick high five just to sort of like set the tone, chill us out a little bit. All right, good job, good orgasm, right on.
I was going to say that would make probably anyone who doesn't like soft touching feel better by giving them a nice swipe.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So and I'm really happy that she trusted me enough to take the plunge with me as well. So
well, it worked. Trust me, it worked. I thought it was great between you two. It would have been good to see actually more scenes between you. Now your character owns, it's like a bar diner. Was that where everyone had their craft services as well, or was that a set?
No, that was actually a real bar,
Okay.
an actual bar. Yeah, because Qavvik has a burger joint because they live in Ennis is what's classified as a damp town. So you get a ration of alcohol at the start, and he makes moonshine, bootlegs. It's under the table. He sells it.
Did you try it?
So I've had moonshine in my of course I have, but not Qavvik. I have no idea how to make it properly. I'd probably blind somebody. And the bar itself is so radically different. Like when I went in there and they had did an incredible job of making these places look real, because that bar that we filmed in was this rundown little burger joint. Yeah, and there's rough and tumble people in there.
Yeah.
And then walking in there afterwards, it's actually quite like a posh little place.
Okay.
Like beautiful white tile all over the walls everywhere. And there you couldn't tell at all that it was, other than the bars in the same area. Everything is so different.
Yeah. It sort of portrayed you as being handy in the kitchen. What do you like? Can you cook your own food well?
I'm not bad. Yeah. My partner and I, she's definitely the more handy one, but I do make great breakfast, which Qavvik and I had in common. I love making pancakes. I always make blueberry; they're my favorite. And bacon. I'm a breakfast guy. Waffles, chicken waffles. Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
Chicken waffles. I don't think I've ever had that. Okay.
Yeah, you just get some. You get some breaded fried chicken, and you throw them on top of waffles. It's quite popular.
That's not in Australia. I've had my Vegemite on toast. That's nice.
Yeah.
If you know
I did try Vegemite.
Yep.
And I think I put too much on. Yeah, that's not like butter. No, I had it was
No,
awful.
it's not like Tom Hanks did the same thing when he was over here filming Elvis.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, he put too much Vegemite on a sandwich as well, and it didn't, it didn't agree with him. Put it that way.
No, no, it's a lot of flavor and a little bit of spread.
What about other co-stars? Did you have much to do with John Hawkes or Jodie Foster or anyone else on the set? Because there was a pretty eclectic, real great cast, eclectic
Yeah.
of all
I,
different diversity in there.
I know, right? Like these amazing, like world class, best of the best.
Yeah.
Fiona Shaw, big scene stealer, that
I
one.
love Fiona Shaw,
Um,
actually. I've seen her for so many years, and when she popped up, I'm like, oh, wow, look at her. She's still
I
going
know.
strong.
And I was so fortunate to be doing some scenes around the same time as her. So I
Mm.
got to actually chit chat with her a little bit, as well as John Hawkes. I saw him. He's an incredible musician. That song that he sings in the series was his,
Oh,
you
that he
know.
wrote that. Okay, I wasn't aware.
Yeah, he wrote that one. And Christopher Eccleston, I never like he's a person I've admired for such a long time. And I
Yeah,
had
he's
a
good, isn't
really
he?
very surreal moment when I finally got to meet him, which
Mm.
was at the red carpet event.
Mm.
And we ended up getting a little drunk together, sitting there having some laughs. And he's such a lovely, lovely man, and in a no bullshit way. He probably one of like the biggest badges of honor for me. It was like he's like, your work is amazing, and coming from him
Yeah,
was thrilling for a guy like me, So yeah, I was quite flattered. It was very humbling as well. Uh, yeah, to have
yeah.
somebody like that notice my work.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised because you did put in a strong performance, and it's people will take notice if they're working with you or seeing partners or even just watching it later, going, "Who's this guy?" It's really good to know that you're rising, your stardom and your work ethic is obviously going to get higher and higher.
Yeah, I hope so. And that was another thing too that I was very impressed with, like I mean this room of uh incredible talent, and even all of us indigenous folks that were not well known, but that they had the vision to actually give us this chance and put us in these roles.
Mm.
I was thrilled. I mean, a lot of people uh were had their eyes on this, and for a platform like this to elevate a lot of us is
Yeah, totally,
very
totally.
thrilling. Yeah.
What about your heritage and were you always going to become an actor? And, was that something you wanted the opportunities when you were young? Were they there? And how were you brought up? Were you brought up in a mixed community?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was mostly raised in a little northern town called Larange in northern Saskatchewan, Canada,
Yeah.
and it got down to like -40, very dark days. Like in the darkest of days, I think there's like 3 hours of daylight, so we never get true darkness.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a very mixed community. It's about a third white, a third mixed, and a third native, I'd say. And then there's like I think there was like two Asian families and one black family. Like when I was growing up, there really wasn't much in diversity other than just natives and whites living in this town.
Okay.
And it's a few thousand people. And I never dreamed, no, I never dreamed I would ever end up here. I was incredibly shy, I only got into it because I moved a little further south
Yeah.
in
Okay.
Canada and auditioned as a joke in high school. And because all my friends were auditioning for a high school play in grade 12, and it was a musical, and I sung a song with a whole bunch of swear words in it, just thinking
Oh,
I'd get detention and then I wouldn't have to do the show. But I didn't want to be the only one that didn't audition.
okay.
And so I ended up getting a lead. The lead, it was Jesus Christ Superstar, and I played Judas. And I
Oh,
couldn't sing, I couldn't dance, I couldn't do anything, but I I fell in love with it, and I just kept on going for a decade
okay.
and a half after.
You
So
didn't have the long hair and the beard at the time. Is that why you got the role?
in high school, no, 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 no. I think I would have been a few wisps everywhere. It was very patchy until I was about 22 or something, 23. It started filling in pretty good.
Oh, well, that's really good to know. That you keep going and it's passionate for you. It's a good career to have. And I mean, I'm glad that you've gotten to where you are so far, but there's a lot more to come, I'm sure. Just on a spoiler note, if you haven't seen True Detective Night Country yet, I'll just say where your character ends up. Your character kind of ends up just standing there at the end on his own. Was that how it was
Yeah.
always going to end for you, or was there other alternates with your character?
No, no, that was it. It's always left open, right? You still
Yeah.
like that to leave a couple of things for the audience to kind of figure out on their own or wish for themselves. Um, so for me, I'm always a hopeful person, and my hope was always that Kaylee did come back
Yes.
and they ended up together, but she just had to figure herself out a little bit more. And because Qavvik is an incredibly strong emotional base of a human being giving support to this woman that he loves. And so I hope that she came back for him.
Yeah, I think Kavik or Eddie is easier to say for me. He has a big heart, you know. He's very
Mhm.
sentimental, even though he's a big brute in a way. That we're looking at him, and he's got to take control of a lot of people in his bar. But
Yeah.
you know, you have grounded both levels quite well. Are you like that in real life? Do you have like a big heart? You're a softie?
Oh, yeah, I get emotional. I do. I actually cried reading that final script, like just reading it when I had them all in front of me and I got to sit down and tear through them. And
Yep.
yeah, I fully cried with Jodie's character at her big emotional moment. And yeah, I mean, I still watch The Princess Bride every year ever since I was a kid. It's my favorite movie.
One of the
And so
greatest.
one of the greatest ever. Yeah. So it's always been a dream to be involved in something like that, that'll stand the test of time and that people will always continue to watch decades later.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. Now you've got The Last Airbender, you know, that's just been released in Australia and I guess the rest of the world. You feature in that. Did that come in
Yeah.
after Night Country or how did that happen for you?
Yeah, believe it or not, that came in before Night Country. And Night Country happened, I think, because of Airbender, which happened because of this movie that I was in, Beans. I mean, as of right now, I saw I don't know if it is a true headline, but it just came up in my feed this morning, and it's the number one show in the world at
Yeah,
the moment, which is very wild. Again, for me, just being as of a month ago. Again, walking down the street, no issues, and now people are grabbing me and like shaking my hand and wanting to talk to me and pitch me movie ideas as if I have, an in with Hollywood and will get their movie made for them.
yeah, right.
And I'm like,
You've got a bit of cred. Your cred's sort of growing, right?
I guess, yeah, yeah, and that is very surreal, but yeah, I'm learning on my feet, I guess. But Airbender we filmed it 2 years ago, and there's just a lot of post work that needed to be done,
Yeah,
and I think it's going to continue on. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't. It's very very popular, and yeah, all roads lead to this little movie I did, which I encourage everyone. I always talk to Canadians about it, but Beans is a true thing that happened in 1990 Canada, and the Mohawks had an uprising, and the one who plays Katara in Avatar
yep.
played my daughter, and her name's Gowendio. She played Beans in the movie,
Oh,
that title
lovely.
character. Yeah, so in that movie, I was the dad, and Rainbow Dickerson was the mom, and now we're both in Avatar playing the parents again, which is so lovely.
Okay.
And it was nice to get the family together, And then True Detective happened 4 days after the casting announcement came out. It was 9 months after we filmed, I think, and then I ended up suddenly on a radar somewhere. It's all this momentum, right?
Yeah,
That's how
it's
this
all about
industry works.
momentum. That's right. And you're manifesting it maybe because of the quality work you're doing as well. And it's just all working out. I mean, with Airbender, that also has your history with Beans. So it's all revolving. It's like a big circle around for you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I'm just excited to see where it goes next because wow, yeah, suddenly I'm chatting with management in the US and things, and we'll see where
Okay.
that goes.
Well, Beans, I proud myself of seeing everything I possibly can. It's very hard to come across, I think, in Australia, but we'll do our best and I'll let people and get the word out after I do track it down. And I want to watch it
Oh,
now. Hey, you've talked me into it. Plus, it has an interesting premise. True stories
yeah,
always get to me anyway.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's on Amazon at the moment. There, it's always popping around different streaming platforms.
Okay, well, I'll check it out. Now you work with an Aussie, Deshan Lackerman, on Altered Carbon.
Oh,
She's in Altered Carbon anyway. That was
mhm.
another show you were on, and iZombie. Were they roles that you remember very well? Because they were both shows that I enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah, of course. iZombie, that was my very first principal role. And I was amazed to just be sitting across this table. It was a small part, but I mean, a principal role up from acting, you know, when you're doing one-liners and suddenly you get to say a couple of
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
it's all about climbing those rungs. And then Altered Carbon was the first like really, really big budget thing I had ever been a part of. And honestly, one of the funniest memories of my life, because I was doing the scene with Joel Kinnaman and he just absolutely wipes me on the floor. I did my own stunts in that one, which is
Oh,
good. I
did
got
you?
stunt, but yeah, so I ended up falling on the floor about 30 some times during that day. I did hop keto back in my early 20s. So the only thing I can remember is how to fall down. And so I'm falling on the floor repeatedly. I'm like, oh, this is great. After about the 25th time, I regretted not asking that stunt guy that they hired to do it. Because they were like, can you do this? Can you fall on the floor? Because they actually had this stunt man all done
Yeah.
up with a big beard on too. I had a big beard then too. And I was like, I could do this, no problem. Give me
Oh
that pay.
no.
And yeah, so I got beat up pretty good. And Joel Kinnaman was buck naked. You know, he's covered in jelly that's literally dripping off him. He's over top of me with all of this goop dripping onto my face.
This is not a good image, but I remember
And
you.
you know, and it's just like, and yeah, it was one of the funniest moments because I just often think about that, and thinking, wow, I had this moment of him on top of me, goop dripping on my head, and I'm thinking, this is how I make my living. How ridiculous is this? You know, and a lot of the crew, I ran into a guy a couple years later on the street, and he's like, "Hey, man, you were in Altered Carbon. I was on crew. I was one of the grips." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." He's like, "We still talk about you." This poor guy that's just getting beaten up and laying there with, you know, this naked man on top of him dripping. Yeah, it was a really funny moment.
Well, I'm so glad I asked about it now. That story is ingrained in my mind now. That's good. They're really good. What do you think of television as opposed to film? Do you have a preference? You've done mostly, I guess, television, but is it something that like forward for more projects, will you take a preference or you'll just go with what you think is the right kind of role for you?
Yeah, I mean, uh I treat them both as the same animal, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
does depend on the role, if it's comedy, if it's drama. I mean, I've always been more of a natural film actor, even though I have decades of theater. It's just I always have to amp it up a lot more for theater. It's a little bit more out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to film, you just get to keep it real in a lot of ways. So it does depend on the role. I tried to bring a bit of humor into Night Country because I felt like it really needed that. Qavvik was already a very warm character, but
Mm.
I wanted to put in something that would make people maybe chuckle and laugh a little bit while keeping it in the world that
Yeah.
it is, right? This very real element. So like there's that bathtub scene, which was brilliantly written, and trying to walk that line of keeping it funny and real at the same time. Yeah, those are I like doing the razor's edge acting where you're asked something difficult and just you got to pull this off. I feel
Yes.
that way. That was with Qavvik and Navarro, their relationship. A lot
Mm.
of people were, you're skirting a very big line here because if you were to reverse the genders on this, suddenly it looks absolutely terrible. But the way
Yeah.
that we portrayed it, I think it was good. It still gave a lot of agency to Qavvik, and uh, there was real love there.
Oh, there was. And do you think Havoc would actually, if he got a call from Navarro to say, like, move out of Alaska, I want you to come to wherever she was at that point in time, would you think your character would drop everything and go?
I don't think Qavvik could, honestly. I
That's
think
what I'm thinking. He'd have to stay.
yeah, he's part of the land, and that's where he belongs. There's that line, the Alaska girls always come back, but that's really where they're from
Yeah.
and where they're rooted. And I think that Navarro eventually would. Like, she's probably got to go off and find who she is and everything, but she'll come back. They always come back.
What indigenous inspirations do you have, like with actors or performers? Have you got anyone, or just actors in general that inspire you to be what you are?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, it was a very. I'm really proud of this. indigenous Renaissance era that we're living in now, because there's a lot of authenticity. There's a lot of heroes out there. There's a plethora, and in fact, like I do a podcast about indigenous acting,
Okay.
and I speak with other actors, and there's so many. There's just so many to talk to now.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, it was very different. There was groundbreakers that were having to do a lot of uncomfortable roles, like a lot of these elders that we look up to now, and it was necessary work because we needed to, break down these doors. There's Tantu
Mm,
Cardinal, Graham Greene, Wes Studi.
mm,
There was guys like Chief Dan George, who was one of these favorites of mine when I was growing up too, because
okay.
he was just such a powerful character.
Okay.
But my very first hero, believe it or not, was this cartoon character called Brave Star. And it was one of those cartoons from the 80s that was built to sell toys, But it was an indigenous character, and he was a space cowboy, he was a sheriff, and he
Yeah.
wasn't the B story. And that was the very first time I'd ever seen this, because it was always a white central character with an indigenous supporting
Mm,
person, or a stereotype in the
mm,
background. And this guy was the star of the show.
mm,
And that's what really got the wheels turning in my head, I think, of like, hey, maybe we're actually pretty cool,
mm.
you know? Because society at that point was still just John Wayne movies teaching us all that we were dummies and terrible people. So I'm glad that, and I feel grateful to live in this time now where we're actually getting to tell stories.
No, I totally agree. And you mentioned Wes Studi and Graham Greene in particular. They're two actors that I watched growing up as well in so many different films. I mean, I saw
Mhm.
Graham Greene recently in Echo, the Disney Plus
Yeah,
series, the Marvel series. He was great in that.
yeah,
It was good to see
right.
him.
Yeah, I just did a movie with him over the summer, actually.
Oh,
And
really?
they're shopping it around. It's called Sweet Summer Powwow.
Okay.
Uh, and whenever they find a distributor, that'll be out there. But yeah, he's a great guy. And it was very nerve-wracking, sort of, to meet this person. He's hilariously grumpy, in a very good way. Can I swear on your show? I'm not sure. I
uh,
can. I'll edit myself. um
Thank you.
he he walked on, and he meets the first AD, and he goes, "Are you the first AD? I hate first ADs." And then he starts laughing and walks. He just kind of
Yeah.
sets that tone. It's very
That
funny.
that sounds, even though I don't know him, I've not interviewed him yet, but it sounds like him. I mean, a grumpy old man, but just also respectful. But and he's
Yeah,
got such a great past, like
yeah.
his career. So good to hear, and I look forward to that movie as well. So I guess my last question before we wrap it up was like, what's next? So other than that film, have you got other things in the works or projects you can share, or are they top secret?
No, no, actually, I'm currently just things are picking up because we just got out of that strike, and the
Yeah.
industry's just got its legs back under them. So I haven't found anything that I really want to jump into. Yeah, because you're right, this is a momentum game, and there's an interesting world now that suddenly I find myself in. So
Well, there's a lot of productions and a lot of things happening down under. If you're willing to come back to
I would
Australia,
love to. I want to go back for round two. I got to actually explore the Gold Coast. I didn't get a chance last time, so.
there's sharks up there and jellyfish.
I might stay out of the water a bit this time. We'll
Probably
see.
a good idea.
All
All
right.
right, mate.